All right. Well, thanks everybody for attending today. Let's make sure everybody's getting in here okay. All right, awesome. So thank you so much for attending the Data Science and Analytics mini career chat today, the last one of the day. So we're great to have such a good group. Oh, and we keep getting more too. Let me let these in. Great. Okay, we got more people joining us, which is awesome. Okay, so today we have two speakers. First one is Melissa Perry, which she's graduated in 2012. She's a senior analytics engineer at Cellular, and I could have said that wrong. Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong.
US Cellular, yep.
US Cellular. Then we also have Hannah Ball, who was a part of the class of 2003, and she's a senior utilities economist at Tacoma Public Utilities. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to make sure everybody's in this room because we keep getting some chimes, but whoever would like to go first, take it away.
Sure, I'll kick off. Can you all see and hear me okay? Okay. I'm Melissa Perry, and as Brianna said, I am a senior analytics engineer with US Cellular Corporation. We are a small carrier. We're the fifth largest telecommunications provider in the country. So you're probably more familiar with AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile just merged. So I guess that would make us the fourth largest, but we provide service largely in the Midwest, a little, but all across the nation. So in the Northwest and also like the West Virginia, Eastern North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee area. So that's where we operate. I've been helping people, just to give you a little background about me, I've been helping people use data to act more effectively for about 8 years now. I can tell you that this is a career field with lots of opportunity, lots of promise for you all as young budding data scientists at Center. A lot of the work that I have done has been in the business intelligence space, meaning helping people to understand what happened in the past. And where I'm really transitioning at this point in my career is helping people to understand what's going to happen and how can they optimize their decision making to optimize cost and to be more effective with fewer resources. Because as technology evolves, that's really a trend in across a lot of industries, especially in telecommunications where we're rolling out 5G, as you're familiar with. So I have been, I think some of the most relevant and exciting experience for you will be my experience here at US Cellular, but I have worked in many industries. I started my career at Toyota when Toyota was in the Erlanger, Kentucky area. They're in Cincinnati. I also have worked in Memphis, Tennessee as a business analyst, which is a career field that may be at a, kind of a first stepping stone for many of you, where you're trying to figure out how to use software to collect data that's needed to make decisions. It's far more complicated than that, but I could go into some of that if you all have questions about that field. At US Cellular, I really feel like I've seen a lot of growth in my career. I've been helping our network operations team to act smarter and work smarter, not harder with data in order to prepare for 5G. So, and that meant really building their data fluency, getting an understanding of where they're collecting data across many different data sets, bringing that together in what we call a data mart, and exposing that to them through self-service analytics using a tool called Tableau. I don't know if it's part of your all's curriculum. It likely is. But helping people to use data for the first time to make decisions to be a lot more proactive. And I've even led some interns who were proposing predictive approaches to one of our higher cost areas of operating expense, which is HVAC maintenance. So even when you're working in a business that's been doing things the same way for a long time, in this field, you bring a new perspective and you can help the business to get smarter and to get more strategic, save costs, all great things that are instilled in us at Center. So it's been an exciting ride for me thus far, and looking forward to sharing more and answering your questions. I'll hand it over to Hannah.
All right. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. I graduated in 2003. I like to say we were President Roush's first graduating class. So that's how old I am. But at Center, I double majored in philosophy and Spanish. And, kind of as you think, the job market for philosophy and Spanish double majors is not really well laid out. So you can either become a lawyer or a teacher. And so my first job after college was I worked at a law firm to get an idea of whether I wanted to do law school or not. And I did not. And so my next job after that, I completely changed fields entirely and went into, I took a job as an office manager at a collection agency, which was fascinating. I knew nothing about finances when I joined, and I learned so much about credit and how that works. But my job morphed into going from kind of running the office, making sure papers were in the right spot, to helping clean up and organize our data. So I like to say that's where I first learned how to use Excel, and my very first love affair with an equation with VLOOKUP, which I still use to this day. Love it so much. Right, but like I got to learn about how data comes in from different sources, and it's a giant mess, and you have to remove duplicates. Got really good at using those spreadsheets. From there, I shifted again, worked collection agency as bills, and the next job I took was working with utility bills at Schneider Electric. And it was at Schneider where I really got to start using data to learn about how do we see things, right? So how do we see what's happening in a building? How do we see what the building systems are doing? We can use data to start to understand what's happening in a building in a different way from when you're there in person. And so I got to use really cool things like regression to create a model of a building. And my fascination with weather really took off at that point. I can talk to you all day about weather. But right, so like we started to say, like, what are the things that influence this building operation? So that way when we at Schneider, we did projects to like help people be more efficient with their energy. How do we make sure that we're actually helping them save energy? So it was my job to create the model and then make sure that our project was actually doing what it needed to be doing. And then from Schneider, I kind of got this really cool job at McKinstry, which is a construction firm, an engineering firm up in Seattle. And I got to take that small area of how do we understand what's happening to a building and start applying that more broadly to kind of deeper data. So looking at specific building automation systems, how do we understand sooner when something is going wrong, and how do we take that action? I also started kind of what I think of as like leveraging my liberal arts and started moving more into occupant engagement. So going from like working with numbers and spreadsheets to translating that numbers experience back to the occupant. When you see this in your data, this is what it feels like to you. And so we can kind of start teaching how to use that data and how to kind of modify or change. Did the change that I make, did it work like I wanted? And so kind of just building in rules and systems to help confirm that the data supports what we think is happening. And so I think that was a lot of fun to just learn different ways to talk about data and to start to actually show and teach people that like all this information that you have here about how things work, it actually supported in the numbers, and we can use that to help you make business cases with your boss, as an example. So this is my main job at McKinstry, and very recently, in fact, I got a new job at Tacoma Public Utilities, where I now my job is to help the utility find and use data to make decisions. So I get to take all of that kind of individual building customer experience, and now I get to do really cool things like help our fleet understand when we should be replacing vehicles. I get to help HR look at our diversity and inclusion metrics, understand what we're supposed to be doing. I also just get to do fun things like be a lifeguard in our data lake, which is the thing that is just fun. Like I get to create rules about what gets to come into our data system and make sure it's safe and fun and happy for everybody to play there. So to not exactly a straight path, but you know, I think looking at my center experience, I think about taking sociology class with Dr. Weston and how we talked about statistical significance. That's important when you talk about what makes sense for data. I think one of the more relevant classes that I took was my symbolic logic course, which taught me how to turn a stated argument into code, which has been extremely helpful with using languages like SQL and VBA. To writing a paper for anything at Center, having good illustrations, creating your argument has been essential to getting people to sign up to let me use a cool tool like Tableau to be able to visualize these things. So the center education has certainly been invaluable to my experience.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Hannah. Students, do we have any questions? Because we've got plenty of time. I think we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, now is the perfect time to ask them.
Melissa, you said that you worked with business intelligence. Did you use like Power BI, or what kind of tool did you use for that?
Yeah, so most of my business intelligence experience has been with Tableau. I was fortunate to be part of a learning cohort in the position that I had before this, where we even went to the Tableau offices in Austin, Texas, and took some kind of basic and intermediate training courses. And what I will say is that in many different companies, Tableau isn't considered an investment. So Power BI comes with the Microsoft suite, and in a lot of firms, that may be the first tool that you have. Do consider these just tools. In many ways, they all have the same functionality, and business intelligence is a lot about, like Hannah was saying, creating the story and telling the story that's within the data. And many of those things you can also do in Excel, whether you know it or not. It might be a lot more work, but so I would focus there rather than the tool itself. You may not be able to control what tool you get earlier in your career, but really focus on that story and the quality of getting the end user to understand what you need them to understand, what you're seeing in the data, and convince them to move forward and evolve their strategy.
Yeah, I can second that. So I have used Tableau both in a Microsoft only shop where we were the strange ones using Tableau, and also in a Tableau only environment. And Power BI is considered to be a competitor to Tableau, but the functionality is very, very different. At the same time, to Melissa's point, learning how to tell a story with data is more important than the specific tool. And again, if you can write equations in Tableau, you can also, if you can write equations in Excel, you can write them in Tableau or a database or Power BI. It's all basic, it's slightly different language variations, but the concepts are exactly the same.
Gotcha, I appreciate the input.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions from the students?
Hey, Eric, I guess is to give a question back to you. What business intelligence tools are they teaching at Center today?
Well, I've only just now started on the path in data science because they launched it about a year or so ago. I've been fortunate to be able to use Tableau in an internship before, as well as if you've heard of ClickSense, maybe. Mm-hmm. That's like a super modern in my view. It's sort of like a automated way of almost doing it. It's pretty interesting.
Cool.
Okay. If the students don't have any more questions left, do you ladies have any last minute remarks or any last minute advice that you would like to provide for the students?
I do. Just try everything. So as a liberal arts graduate, you have this broad grasp of kind of how to look at the world, how to think about the world, and business needs you to come in and help them think of things that they haven't thought of before. At the same time, you're going to have a big fight with your like technical degree people, because they think they've got it. But you can write a paper, you can write a case study. You've taken art, you understand aesthetics. Even if you haven't had any experience here, you can make the argument in the case. And we need you. We need more people out here taking this storytelling approach to data and helping people understand what you can and can't do with data and how it's useful, but also to take that and just apply it and just more across kind of more broad disciplines with different demographics, all that. So don't always apply for the thing, always.
Yeah, I would second what Hannah is saying. I think you may actually, because of your education, you may come to a place like me where I'm in an engineering division and I am very different from a lot of the people who I work around, right? Because I don't have a technical background. I don't have an engineering degree, but I'm more so like from a measurement and a management perspective and how do we handle things. I can consult in that way. It makes you're going to talk different from your technical peers, and you have to be confident in that space because that's a gift. You shouldn't ever think, well, I'm not good enough because I'm not focused solely on the technical. No, life is complicated. Life and decision making for a leader is complicated, and just because you know how to model X or you know how to collect the data in some complex way doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen. Resources are scarce. You've got that center background where you're creative. You can be nimble. You can think of multiple alternatives. You can see into the future. You can see the big picture. All of these things are important. And are going to help you stand out among your peers in a very positive way. So I would say to double down and to continue to not only take those data science courses, but remember to take your ethics courses. Remember to take the foreign language. I was also a Spanish student. I majored in, I forgot to mention that earlier, I majored in financial economics and Spanish. We didn't have data science. That wasn't it wasn't even a sexy term. It was just becoming a sexy term in 2012 when I was ready to graduate. So, now that it's a concept, remember all of the resources that are there on campus that you should use to get that well-rounded education. It's really going to serve you well in the rest of your career. So soak up that time.
Yes, and one more piece of advice. I think in the data science engineering world, I recommend that you practice your skills on data sets you know and love. So whatever that is, it really doesn't matter. Something that you are familiar with, that you love, that you want to spend time with, I recommend that you spend time trying out your techniques and your theories on your data set, kind of just get to know that really well, because that's the best way to learn how these things work. Again, going back to what does it feel like when this is right? What does it feel like when that's a trend? Kind of getting experience with that is going to really help you excel in your field.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Hannah. If we don't have any more questions, unless Melissa and Hannah have any last minute remarks they'd like to make to the students, I think we're good to go, unless you guys have anything else you'd like to say.
I'm curious, like personally, what it's like to be a data science student at Center. I'm interested just because, at this stage in my career, I'm embarking on, leadership in the data science space. And so center students are gems to me. Of course, I'm very biased, right? But like, I'd like to know, like, what are you guys learning? What is the program like so far? What's working? What's not? You know, and then like anything else that you think might surprise me. Again, I graduated in 2012. So how's campus changed? Like, I know there's all kinds of new buildings and you have like a really cool math science space. So like, if you all just kind of want to go around, we have some time here. So I'd like to meet you all.
Yeah, I could tell you a little bit about it. Like I just finished up the first of 4 data science courses for the semester for the major. That was Data Science 205, and that was sort of like this simple linear regression, multiple linear regression type course where you use R to use your data to try and find trends and see if it's statistically significant, if it's the p-value is less than 0.05, things like that. And then you move on to Data Science 305, the next one. I can't quite remember what that one's on. And then there's 395, which is machine learning, and then 500, which is a capstone.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, those are all applicable skills. We use R day to day in the engineering space, R and Python, and do those sorts of modeling to help make decisions, like what is going to fail. I think Hannah and I both mentioned that in our introduction. So very interesting.
Yeah, those that are will definitely be very useful. And I mean, I have a coworker who writes all of their memos in R even, so you can definitely use it for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
good to know.
you're the only one who's talking, so I'm like, okay, you get to answer questions. So why did you choose to go into the data science field as a major?
Well, actually, both of my parents are mathematicians, actuaries, really, but math kind of runs in my family. But I've always kind of been curious about the computer science part of it as well. And I see data science as sort of being the meshing of math and data science and computer science and statistics as well. So I thought that was a really interesting mix of the three. Plus, you know, it's a brand new major and a pretty fresh new field. So I felt it's a pretty exciting future ahead.
Yeah, and like the smaller of a company you can work at, the more pieces, like different roles you can inhabit. I think that's one of the things that my career has, I've had the ability, I've been like one of a few. So I've been able to do the data architecting, the database, sysadmin, the coder, the visualizer, the case study builder, the seller to the bosses, the business analyst at the end. So in a lot of ways, like it's been great to be able to get to experience it from all that kind of that diversity of actual roles. But then at my current job, I have someone who's it's their job to do data architecting. And so it's been really nice to be like, I learned all this basically from the internet. It's nice to have some official instruction from someone who has studied it or knows what they're doing, which is nice.
Right. So you have to learn that. It seems like a lot on the job. You're sort of learning all those different skills and applying them in a variety of different ways. And yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah, that's really interesting.
I will tell you that the way to go from an amateur data scientist to a professional is to Google your problem and then modify the results to meet your needs. That's all that's required. That's it.
Yeah, I hear that's like basically Stack Overflow and things like that, and just translating things.
100%.
Yeah, because there's so many tools that you use, you know, and then you'll get further down into a business problem and then you'll forget how to program in a certain language, but you know you need to use that tool because that's the most effective one, right? And so then yeah, you're on Stack Overflow. So yeah, focusing on like learning all the languages is kind of the wrong way to get started. Like I think a lot of people think, oh, I got to know this by heart. I got to develop all my technical skills. I got to do X number of boot camps before I can fill in the blank. And that's not true. You're ready to go from center, apply for the job, right?
So it's really more about like having the broad understanding that gets you 95% of the way there. And then that last 5% is maybe that technical bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say put the technical only at the 5. I'd probably say like more of a 75-25 type thing, because 75% is like your ability to see problems in the complicated way that they are and to analyze the world like a center student. 25% would be the technical. Again, very, very biased, but that has been what's driven my success.
Yeah, and your ability to pick apart your problem into its individual solvable pieces. So how do you kind of, again, going back to Google, how do you appropriately Google the problem you're having and then interpret Google with like, this will be the solution that works. That's 75% of it. And then 25 is, I know this is possible. Let me go see if I can figure out how to do this specifically right here.
Yeah, it seems like data science, you're almost bridging gaps, or you're like translating for yourself to know how to solve a problem, and then at the end translating it back into English for like someone who's not a data scientist.
Yes, you will be a translator. That's your main job.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's also like, so what Hannah said about working at a small organization is really good advice. At least at one point in your career, I would recommend doing that. I grew a lot in working for a small organization. And you know, like she said, because you're wearing so many hats, you have to see so many parts of the process. So you're increasing your value, you know, to another organization, or to continue with that organization if you really love it. But definitely I would say check your gut when you're in a role and you're getting bored, or you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like, this is not it. I mean, go forward. You're not, you know, move your career forward. You're not stuck. You're very much empowered. Be confident in your skills and your ability to solve complex, gnarly problems that the world is facing right now.
Yeah, thank you for the advice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are right on time. So thank you guys for this wonderful discussion. Hannah, Melissa, that was wonderful advice. And thanks for just taking time out of your day to come on and talk with the students. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the students for attending as well. And hopefully you got some wonderful information out of it. But this is where we can leave off. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.